All right, hey everybody, it's Kenji here again, and today I am with Blake Cahill, social media superstar, vice president of Visible Technologies. First off, Blake, thank you very much for letting me bug you with my little camera here for a little bit.
No problem. Thanks so much for coming over to our offices and checking out the intergalactic headquarters of Visible Technologies here today. Our rapidly expanding full floor here over in South Bellevue. Left the city, downtown Seattle, a while ago to come over here. So, but we like it, a lot more space, and it's good for folks. So
yeah, it's pretty busy out there. I mean, you said how many people out there?
Yeah, we've got about 65, 70 in this office.
Wow.
You know, lots of all the technology is onshore here. That all the technology development and marketing, sales, and customer support, and all the service implementation folks are here in these offices for the most part, except for a handful of folks in New York. Everyone's here, so it's great.
Great. Well, very cool. So, for those who don't know, Blake is a busy guy. As I mentioned, the VP of Visible Technologies. He's also on the board of SMC Seattle. He's on the board of the SDMAs, which is very cool. Checked out an event last week. And he keeps busy, but the reason I'm here to talk to him is because I want to talk a little bit about social media, what your interests are, and how you ended up finding yourself in this space. You have to take that. Okay. And
sorry for the call interruption.
No worries.
Turn that on mute.
So, yeah. How about we start off with that? How did you end up, in this whole realm of social media?
Yeah, absolutely. I was in a company that was another earlier stage company that was kind of in the call center knowledge management space. And I ended up there after doing marketing and product management for tons of different telephone companies. I've been, both in the U.S. and in Europe, working for major phone companies, doing marketing to consumers, hawking and selling all kinds of things from rebate checks to, additional lines, and ended up taking a turn in the customer service world at Quest. And I ran 1/3 of the Quest call center organization for a while. And what was really interesting about that is I had always been a marketer kind of screaming at the customer service channels about like why they don't sell more and why the service numbers aren't better for our products and stuff like that, and I kind of blame them all. Then I was actually on the other side, responsible for about 1,200 people going, you know what, marketing? The reason is because your products aren't very good and the offers aren't really good and you don't give us enough notice. So I've lived in both worlds, and from that perspective, I've kind of, been very, very passionate about, the consumer and customer experience really drive everything. And if you have really good products, really good services, really good, offers and pricing, your customers will like you, they will tell friends, and you won't have a lot of service issues and things like that. If things are out of balance, then things will be very out of balance. And very few organizations are very, I would call it completely customer-centric. So having lived on both sides of the world at large enterprises, I've been fascinated with, earlier stage companies that have software that kind of helps, drive that change in experience for companies. And that's kind of how I ended up here. And in the social space, when social media started to take off, I'm like, oh wow, this is actually really going to change everything, because finally the consumer can say something and the company can't control it because it's totally out there for everyone to see. And how our organization is going to deal with that, because they were always able to just like hang up the phone and put it in their little system, and you could always write the CEO of the company, but there wasn't any Jeff Jarvises at the time. It was really hard to become Jeff Jarvis and take Dell down. Prior to social media, it was really, really hard, and now consumers have as much power as a journalist or any kind of ruling body, so to speak, if they have enough following. And it's very interesting to watch organizations try to figure this all out. And I think initially people really saw it as an opportunity to kind of sell and kind of market, but in reality, I think it's a blending, and I think where we are today is that there's so much that can be gleaned from the social conversations for different parts of the enterprise that now it's finally a coming together, and people trying to work together collectively in organizations to, hear and interact with folks in a real way. It actually humanizes, I think, organizations a little bit. That's how I got into it and what keeps me excited about the space every day.
Wow, very cool. And so I think for all of us, we all have kind of a moment where it clicks with us, this whole social media thing, whether it be on Twitter, whether it be on Facebook, blogs, whatever. But for everybody, it seems like a different thing, like a different aha moment.
Mm-hmm.
What was that moment for you?
I would say for me, for me personally, I have a funny little story that I'll tell, because I always joke. If you're familiar with like Kathy Griffin, she always goes around and says my life on the D list.
Yeah.
She's really actually more like an A-lister. But my joke is, I know all the A-listers and stuff like that, and B-listers, but I would never put myself there. But I know a lot of them, and so the day Jeremiah left Forrester, I didn't get that information right away, but when he landed at Altimeter Group, I was one of like a handful of people that were DM'd that information from a unnamed source, and so I thanked my friend who told me, and I'm like, wow, and for a moment I was actually on the A list. I had breaking news. So no, just a little joke, but I would say for me, I think when our customers have kind of validated everything we've been doing and thank us publicly. I mean, for me, that's the moment for me when it that keeps me going and gets me really excited, when they really like and see what we're doing, and mention us in a very genuine way without ever asking. Those are for me the little moments that help crystallize it for me.
Very cool. And so I don't know about you, but I actually love podcasting. I mean, I'm not actually doing it, but listening to them. And a few that I listen to that revolve around social media, I listen to CC Chapman, I listen to the Quick and Dirty podcast.
Right.
But I also listen to one that you're on.
Yeah. So I do a podcast with some buddies of mine, one who's local. His name is Sean O'Driscoll, who used to run most of the customer service organization out of Microsoft as a GM, and now runs a company called The Inside View with Jake McGee and Sean McDonald, formerly of Dell. And he's out here, and he does lots of work for a number of leading brands, and just a great all-around kind of community guy. And also Steve Hirschberger, who founded a company called ComBlue, which does a lot of social analytics and kind of layers on a lot of really interesting empirical and analytical data based on a lot of the players in the space for a lot of big brands. And this other gentleman named Jonathan Sillen-Baskin, who writes for Ad Age and is just a great guy. And we get on this podcast about once a week or once every 2 weeks. We try to have a guest, or we take a hot breaking topic and kind of try to tear it apart and build it back together. I love it when we have guests, because I love to get the guest perspective of what they're really doing at a brand, or a book they've written, and why things are changing. So, I think it offers up some interesting perspective, and we're actually going to do it. We're all members of the Word of Mouth Marketing Association, so we're actually going to do a live podcast at the WOMA show in November in Vegas. So we're still working on our guest, but it should be a pretty good event to do it all together, since we're always remote when we do it. So it should be fun.
Very cool. And for those who don't know, the name of your podcast is?
Socializing Media. And you can follow me on Twitter, B Cahill. I tweet about it often. Or it's downloadable on iTunes as well.
Very cool.
Search for it.
Great. Well, everybody, hey, that's Blake Cahill. And he's B Cahill on Twitter. Follow him. He's also very involved in the space. Very cool guy and ultra knowledgeable. So go talk to him. And thank you, Blake.
Thanks, Kenji, for coming over. Appreciate it. Have a good one.